taking pictures of people, portraits, whether it's of friends or family or kids, it's something that we do all the time with these things. But it's, I find, quite a challenging thing because it's not just a technical exercise of making it look good. It's about finding a way to bring out what people are like. And that's what a good portrait is. It looks like them and it tells you something about them. So what I want to do today is to share a handful of tips, things that I think about when I'm taking pictures of people to try and help you to take your portraits to the next level. For me, taking pictures of people is more than just a technical exercise. It's more than capturing how the light falls on the skin. It's about shining a light to what's happening beneath the skin. And to that end, many photographers work really hard to build up a rapport with their subjects, keeping the environment relaxed and spontaneous, because that's how you get more honest, more truthful pictures. There are three things that I tend to think about when taking a portrait: lighting, background, and framing. So lighting, obviously, natural light is your friend, and I'm sat here by a window. The flash on your smartphone camera, it's great for emergency situations, but it's not something that you would choose to use because the light it creates is very, very harsh. So have a look at what natural light is available to you. And if you're outside, midday sun, direct sunlight is bad news. Actually, a cloudy day like it is out here is really handy because it diffuses the light. So definitely think about lighting first of all. And then have a look at the background, because if we're focusing on somebody's face, we don't want to be distracted by what's around them. So you could choose a fairly neutral background like we've got here, or it could be something that is something to do with them. So if you're taking a picture of, I don't know, a footballer or your kids playing sport or something, then maybe to have them on a bit of grass or where they might normally do that would make some sense. But again, try not to confuse the picture, particularly with smartphone photography. Simple pictures work very, very well. So don't clutter the background, don't clutter the composition. Focus on your subject and maybe one other thing in the background. Finally, framing. Now, this is also incredibly important. How is your shot actually going to look? How big is your subject going to be in that shot? Is it a close-up of the face? Is it a full body shot? Is it a mid shot from the chest upwards? And also, which way up are you going to hold your phone? Is it going to be the traditional portrait, the kind of vertical orientation of your phone? Or is it going to be a landscape and showing a little bit more of the background as well? But hey, why do you have to go on 90 degrees? Could it be on an angle as well? These are all things to think about really before you've gone anywhere near that shutter button. Now, I've got a subject who's going to sit in. We're sat by the window again on the sofa, and let's just have a look at some of these fundamentals again in terms of background, in terms of framing, and in terms of lighting. So, first things first, let's take a look at what we've got out of the can here. And as you can see, there's a lot of light coming in through that window, which is lighting up this side of the face beautifully. Not so much on this side, so it's a little bit contrasty, a little bit moody. I'll just take a picture just for reference here. Brilliant. If I could ask you to look down the lens of the smartphone, please. Now, where your subject is looking can have an enormous effect on what the picture looks like, what it's saying about the person. We look at a person through their eyes, you know, the eyes are the window on the soul and all of that, and that is absolutely true in any picture of people. So, again, just looking down the lens, thank you very much. What that means is that we need to make sure that we are focusing on the subject's eyes. And on most camera apps, you can do that just by touching. There we are. Now, if we compare that with a shot where the subject is looking off camera, not down the lens. If if I could ask you just to look at where my right hand is, please. And this is a good way of doing it, giving your subject a thing to look at, whether it's your hand, whether it's a point on the wall or in the distance. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. I'm going to take my hand away now, but if you keep looking there, that would be great. Thank you. So, I'm just going to take a picture again. 3. So this kind of gives a moody look to the picture. It's already quite contrasty. Now he's looking off camera. We want to know what the subject is thinking about here. But what that does do is that it darkens the eyes quite a lot, again, because of where the light's coming in from. So this time, I'm going to ask you to look at this hand here. So what he's doing now is looking into the light. Brilliant. I'm going to take my hand away now, but if you keep looking there for me, please. Thank you very much. And again, make sure that your phone is focused on the eyes. And I'm framing it up so that his eye is on that third, this compositional rule of 3 here. So just on that third. And what I'm giving him is some looking room. So just a little bit more space on this side of the frame. Feels a bit unnatural if I frame him this way, where there's space over his shoulder. Actually, if I do it this way, then there's space on the frame that he's looking into. So let's just take a look at that in 3. Super. Again, another pensive shot. Looking into the light this time means that we get a lot more of the eyes, and that lets us see a little bit more of him and his thoughts. Now, thank you very much. If I could ask you just to take another look down the lens for me, please. Now, my subject here is sitting down, and obviously I'm kneeling down as well. What I'm trying to do is to meet him on eye level, and most of the time when we're talking to one another as humans, we are interacting more along the same sort of eye lines. But we can have a play when it comes to photography to get different effects, and we'll see that even a small movement can have quite a dramatic effect on the status of the subject. So what I'm going to do is just move down slightly and angle up. Now, it's not the most pleasing background here, but we're going to concentrate on the subject for now. So still looking down the lens, thank you very much. All I've done is moved 6 inches down and curved up. Still framed on the third here, and here we go. Super, thank you. And what I'm going to do now is just move back level. Let's take a picture for comparison. Okay, 3. Lovely, thank you very much. And now I'm just going to move 6 inches or so further up. There we go. So again, looking down the lens, you can see the phone is trying to autofocus on the eyes there. Super. 3, 2, 1. There we are. So 3 shots. I've not moved enormously, but I've taken them from different heights. And you can see the very different effect that each one of those shots has in terms of not only how the shot looks, but the status that it gives the person, whether they have an air of superiority or maybe the opposite, just from how you angle the photo. A lot of the time when we're taking shots, unless we're trying to impose some sort of status on the subject, eye line is good, but it's definitely worth experimenting with some of those higher and lower shots as well. Now, I've been taking all of these photos in portrait mode, and that's typically how we hold our phones, but we don't have to do that. We can put them in landscape mode, which is holding it horizontally like that. So the effect that has, see, I've still got a kind of mid shot of my subject here, but I've now got a lot of the background as well. I've got some context about where he is, where he's sitting, and if that's of relevance to what it is you're trying to achieve with a portrait, then that's great. Here, for me, it's a little bit messy. I'm seeing a bit more sofa and a bit of the picture and the wall behind him. That isn't necessarily so pleasing for what we're looking at here, so I'm going to stick to portrait. One other thing to think about, though, is square pictures. Now, some camera apps let you do that, other ones don't, but certainly some social networks let you post square pictures. So even if my camera looks as though it's a standard sort of oblong shape, you can mentally create a square picture, which is what I'm going to do here. So I'm just framing up a little bit so that he's more towards the middle of the picture. than I might normally do. I can see in my mind's eye how that's going to work as a square picture. One more thing on lighting here. Lots of this light hitting one side of the face. The other side is comparatively dark. That might be the effect you're looking for, but if it's not, then grabbing one of these little panels can certainly help. So again, just looking down the lens there for me. I'm just going to turn this on, and I'm not turning this light panel on all the way, maybe 50% or so. And look at the difference when I shine on the face. There we are. It's not a lot. Just wave it around a little bit to find the right bit. It's not a lot, but all of a sudden I can see a lot more of the face there. So I'm just going to take a picture. 3. And without. And with. Just boost that up. In fact, why don't I just boost that up to full level there? And it creates an interesting kind of artificial look to it, which again isn't unpleasant. I'm also just lighting up the background a bit. Lovely. And then back down. I actually quite like it when it's up full. It lifts the subject away from the background, because the background is still quite dark, but because his face is nicely lit up there. It's another really interesting effect to have a play with. You know, I might not use it, but at least I've got it in the camera and I can take a look later on. Let's take a look at the effect of the smartphone flash. Now, you can see here on this phone it's turned off. I'm going to force it on. That A there means that it's on automatic mode. The phone will fire the flash when it thinks it needs to, but we're going to force it on. Now, let's have a look at the effect that it has. So, just look down the lens for me, please. In 3. And now I'm going to take that same shot without the flash. 3. Super. Let's have a look at the effect that that has. So just zooming in, this is the shot without the flash. On this lit side of the face here, we can see lots of textures in the face. Lots of some of those creases and little bits of hair around the eyebrow. That's a good detailed face because of the natural light coming in from the window there. If I have a look at the same picture but with the flash and just zoom in on the face there, you can see we've lost almost all of that detail. It's just a sea of white light that's been created by the flash, and that's what I say by harsh light. It loses a lot of the detail, it washes the face out and creates a very different look. For me, the shot of the face without the flash is far more revealing, far more honest and far more usable. I hope we've been able to share some technical tips that you still do need to make sure the picture works as a picture, whether it's composition or light or framing, but also some tips on how to create some more thoughtful portraits to give people space to think and try and see what's happening behind the eyes, because like I say, that for me is the key to a really interesting, really successful portrait.